Hello everyone, what is up? Welcome back to another video. I'm pumping out content left and right. You're probably wondering why. That's because we finally have things to review and look at, and I'm also working on the Ryefield 1/35th scale Tiger still. It's still a work in progress. This is a review / history video on the H aircraft Type 97 carrier attack aircraft. To break that down for you, that's the Nakajima Type 97 carrier attack aircraft model 12. This is a 1/72 scale model, but the actual designation is the Nakajima Goyanana Shiki Kanjo Kogekihi Ichi ni Gata. If you don't know what that means, to break it down for you, let's just say Nakajima B5N2 Kate or Kanko. Now, the B5N2 Kate is a carrier-borne aircraft. It's not just an aircraft, it's a level bomber and a torpedo bomber. The B5N2 is designated the B5N2 because of its 14-cylinder radial Sakai engine. And this was a very perilous aircraft. First seen use in the 1930s in Indochina and the Chinese War. The B5N1, known by its massive nose structure, the B5N2 had a slimmer nose structure and a more powerful engine and better capabilities and bomb load. The livery you see here, it's of Hiryu, and how I know that is the B standing for Hiryu. And these are the fuel tanks. So the B5N2 Kate had I think it was a range of 8 kilometers. I'm not entirely sure, I could be wrong, but it was a very good aircraft in its time. It was slow, but at the time when the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941 came along, there were two uses for the Kate, as a level bomber and a torpedo bomber, which is specified in the role. Actions that this aircraft came into is of course none other than Midway, Pearl Harbor, Battle of Santa Cruz, the Coral Sea, Solomon Islands, I could go on. And they were then used as kamikaze attack aircraft, famously sinking the USS Hornet and the USS Yorktown, and also Mitsuo Fuchida's aircraft, which is AI-301, AI standing for the code for Akagi, the Japanese carrier flagship. Basically, he dropped a massive, I think it was a massive armor-piercing bomb, a Type 99 number 80 armor-piercing bomb to be exact, and it went straight through, I think it was 11 turret of Arizona, exploding the forward magazine and tearing the ship apart. But the B5N2 would know its name in also the attack on Darwin Harbour in the Aleutian and Australian campaign as well. So the aircraft was primarily used as a carrier attack aircraft and had a crew of 3. So if I zoom in, you have your pilot, and he would also act as the aimer for the torpedo, and there would be a little sight thing on top so he could see, and in the cockpit there'd be like a little torpedo sight thing where he could see. And then in the middle here you would have the bomb aimer, also known as the bombardier, also known as the radio operator. And at the bottom of the Kate, if I remove the Type 91 torpedo, you can see 2 little windows, and what that was basically there would be a sight, and the bomb aimer would look through that and he would release the bomb. Yep, and the fuel tanks, unfortunately, you hit them and the whole plane when it goes up in flames. Now let's actually talk about the torpedo. Now the Japanese in World War II, they were very clever because they came up with, well, for the Pearl Harbor attack obviously, they came up with a torpedo, and a torpedo is, you know, a missile that goes underwater, we all know that. But the Japanese were clever, because when they attacked Pearl Harbor, Americans didn't think that Pearl Harbor could be attacked, well, due to shallow, the shallow water in the harbor. So the Japanese proved really effective with their Type 91 Mod 2 torpedo by adding wooden fins. And what these would do is these would break away when it would be dropped, but it would help buoyancy, so the torpedo wouldn't just dive, it would just go straight. And that's what the fins did, and they'd break away on impact. But I think they did help, and as you can see, if you look very closely, you can see the stabilizers, which would keep the torpedo, in bay. And how you knew a Type 91 Mod 2 torpedo from a regular torpedo is the black tip. And the black tip basically proves that it's a Type 91 torpedo. The Type 97 carrier attack aircraft basically comes from the carrier designation. So these were very deadly weapons, and really deadly indeed. And when you're modelling a B5N2, I click this off, but there's usually like gears that, like little clips that hold the torpedoes in, but the torpedo is always like level, so it's a bit down. Now, the engine of the Kate was a 14-cylinder Nakajima 12 Kinsei engine, I think it was. I shall quickly have a look in my reference. I've done a whole bunch of notes for this video. But yes, it's a 12-cylinder or a 14-cylinder Kinsei engine, or Kisei engine. Kinsei engine. And the Kate was very fast. It was actually a really good torpedo bomber for the time, and of course you've got the brake stabilizers there. They're not the brake stabilizers. What are they called? You guys tell me in the comments, but I know all about the B5N Kate. So the B5N Kate had the Hinata, the meatballs, also known as the Rising Sun, and the B5N2 to be stored on a carrier. There were two versions of the Kate that were made. There was the Honton folding wings, where they'd just be manually folded, and then they went with the hydraulic folding wings. Basically, the wings would fold just like the TBD Devastator, and they would fold to the carrier, film the carrier elevator. The landing gear as well, which was really cool, had shock absorber suspension, and each Kate had a air filter there, filter for the engine, Flaps as well. The B5N2 could also carry 6 bombs or 1 bomb as well. Now, the things vary. The Type 91 Mod 2 torpedo, which is 838 kilograms, then it could be equipped with the H3-12 Type 99 number 80 armor-piercing bomb. That was 797 kilograms, and what the Japanese did is they took one of their massive battleship shells, you stick a casing on that, and you have a battleship killing weapon. Literally, that is literally the most effective weapon of the Japanese Korean naval arsenal. And of course, the Kate also had a machine gunner. Now, I have read lots of books and lots of materials, and the Kate was only armed with one Type 89 trainable rear 3-inch machine gun, I think. At no point does the Kate have forward-firing machine guns. The Kate wasn't really designed for offensive capability. It was designed to get in, do its job, and get the hell out. And of course, you've got the antenna mast there, and the pitot tube, which is supposed to be here, but it's snapped off. That would be an airflow indicator, basically measuring airspeed. I think you all know, if you know aircraft, you will know. But it was armed with a Type 89 trainable rearward machine gun. And if you look very deep inside, you can see the oxygen tanks, and the gunner didn't really have the luxury of the bombardier and the pilot. He just sat on a little seat, which I believe could be folded up, and he had options for a radio set in there as well. And he would be very vulnerable. I mean, the B5N2 had a canopy just like the Dauntless, where it would slide back, and these parts would slide back as well. And many people don't know, but these are windows. So the torpedo fell out. And the bombardier could see through these windows. And of course, these black things here are the steps. Because on aircraft, well, even though it's sheepskin metal, not sheep, I said sheepskin metal. On the B5N2, on most aircraft, you step on this and then there'd be like a little rail or something. There would also be an arrestor hook, and then I think you all know what an arrestor hook is. It's basically the thing that tags and snags the aircraft. There you go, look. I've got a nice example. So when the carrier lands, this is why I made this model, it snags the aircraft like that, and it stops. It's like a brake for carriers and stuff. It would also have a little tail wheel. It had rudder, stabilizers. And the aircraft was really good primarily. It was a very good aircraft, very deadly. And it was well known for its pilots. You got Pearl Harbor, Mitsuo Fuchida, who wasn't actually the pilot, believe it or not. He was the observer. And he took most of the snapshots of the attack on Pearl Harbor, which we should never forget. It's a very important moment in history. And many lives were lost that day. Both sides, actually. I think in total, the Japanese launched over 200 something planes, maybe 300 and something planes, from 6 carriers, the Akagi, Hiryu, Soyu, Kaga, Shokaku, and Zoikaku. Zoikaku and Shokaku would be sunk at the Battle of the Coral Sea, I think. No, that was the Shoho. I'm getting mixed up. Shoho is a light carrier converted from a battleship. Akagi, Kaga, Soyu, and Hiryu were both sunk at Midway. Hiryu being sunk the following morning, I think, but managed to launch a squadron of planes, and one of the pilots was Lieutenant Tomonaga, who had seen Yoichi Tomonaga to be correct, and his tail code was BI310, and he had an observer / navigator called Saku Akamatsu, and a radio operator and gunner called Sadamu Murai. But Tomonaga was the pilot, and as much as he tried to attack the Yorktown, he failed. His plane was hit by flak or anti-aircraft fire and shot down. So even though he knew the risk of, his plane like having only half fuel, so he couldn't get back, he'd be like, oh, I could get there and back. But yeah, so the B5N2 was a very well-known aircraft of the Japanese Navy, well-known and well-liked by its crews for its rugged ability to stay in the air. So we think, until you hit the fuel tanks by an F4F Wildcat and then you're dead, but really cool aircraft. Have I covered everything on the Kate? I think I have. I think I've covered everything. It had H310 wingtips, folded and landing gear. Type 99 number 80 armor piercing bomb. Yep. And yep. And there were 2 different bombs. There was the H312 bomb, and then there was the H313. The H313 being bigger. That's the one that was dropped on the Arizona, I think. But yes. And the Japanese were really clever in their ways of designing aircraft. I mean, very clever indeed. But the B5N2 will always be remembered as the Japanese aircraft, which was, at the time, the most deadliest bomber in the Japanese arsenal. I mean, these would basically be used in suicide attacks nearing ending the war. No B5N2 Kates exist anymore, except one that is at the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum on Honolulu, Hawaii. That's the Pearl Harbor Museum, there you go. And it's a real Kate, but it only has its wings and half the body left, and I hope they'll restore it one day. Well, without further ado, I hope you enjoyed me waffling on about the fact of the B5N2 Nakajima B5N2 Kate, and I shall see you in the next one. Take care, guys, and let me know if you want to see more historical content like this. Take care.